We haven't seen her in about a year or so. We are so excited to have her back. It is Melody Shrock, who's going to be making the walk to defend her featherweight title on June 15th. Melody, so good to see you. How you been?
I've been really good. How have you been, Blake?
Things are going well. Um, how are you feeling headed into this upcoming fight? It's been a minute since we've seen you. How are you just feeling about this one upcoming? And are there any anxieties going into this one?
Well, this one I'm especially excited for, and I think it's just because I haven't fought in so long, so I just feel extra excited for this one. But yeah, I feel good. I my camp's been really good, so um, I mean, anxiety wise, I mean, there's always pre-fight jitters and everything, but obviously, I know she's a good striker and everything, so we've been working that. But yeah, I'm basically for this camp, I'm just so excited for this fight. I can't wait.
Yeah, the reason I pose the anxiety part is because we were just a few days out from your previous supposed to be first title defense, and
Yes.
that
Yeah.
unfortunately fell through. What was your reaction when you found out that Ariel France had suffered an injury?
Well, it felt kind of unreal when we heard it because it was really funny because me and my teammates were training at the time, and my coach Cowie, he gets a call from Zach, and we're like, wouldn't it be funny if like she got injured or something and I wasn't fighting? And then he comes walking back with a look on his face, and we're like, no way, there's no way. And then he was like, yeah, she's injured, and we're like, oh my god, it was just crazy. But yeah, I mean, it really sucks for Ariel because that injury, terrible, and I know she's still like recovering from it like tremendously. So, but yeah, it was a blow, definitely to both of us. So, yeah, but I'm back at it, so I'm excited.
Yeah, no, I remember even talking to her prior, and she was so excited for that fight. That matchup just seemed like a perfect match made in heaven, and didn't end up coming to fruition. But I do want to ask you a little bit about just how frustrating was that for you? Because you had put in a really long camp through the holidays, like you had a lot going into this, and unfortunately, it kind of crumbled right in front of your feet.
Yeah, exactly. I would say that camp was probably one of the longest camps that I've been in, and we knew that Ariel was very tough. So we were like game faced the whole time. So we were ready. But I mean, I don't regret going through that camp at all though, because I think it helped me learn so many things, and it helped me learn like a lot of discipline that I otherwise probably wouldn't have had. So I'm glad we went through that camp. But I mean, it always sucks to have a full camp and then have your opponent pull out. But I would say that camp was probably the longest, probably the hardest, especially since it's through the holidays, so I can like eat as much as I wanted to or anything. So, but yeah, it was a really good camp. In retrospect, it was really good.
How long was that camp?
It was, I would say, a little over 2 months, so probably about 2.5 months, because we knew about the fight for longer than beforehand. She was one of those girls that I saw her around and I was like, okay, probably eventually I will be fighting her. So she was like kind of always in the back of my head, like, okay, this is probably gonna happen one day. So and then it started happening. So I was like ready for it in a way. So
Since you won the belt last June, has that kind of been a common thing for you? Is kind of looking at, the landscape, specifically in the West Coast, and going, all right, this is someone who might pop up. This is someone who might pop up.
yes, definitely. Yeah. I whenever I see, because I mean the 145 bracket is a bit sparse with women, or especially in this area. So whenever I see a girl of like 145, 140, even going down to the 135s, I'm like, okay, this potentially could be someone that I'm gonna fight. So I do a little bit of research on people, even if I know that I'm not fighting them, because I'm like, okay, someday this could very well happen. So yeah, I'm always on the lookout.
Have you always had that studious approach to martial arts just in general? Because I know that you have kind of quickly improved throughout your years of training and things like that. Is that kind of one of the ways that you approach kind of everything that you do in life?
Yeah, especially with martial arts and jujitsu and everything. I kind of a nerd when it comes to it, so I just do a bunch of research and I'm like, okay, what are these girls doing that can help me improve my game? Like what can I incorporate to make it better? So I mean, I don't know, I always look at things and I dive deep into especially the martial arts sort of stuff. So I can just see like how I can improve my game and all of that.
One of the big things I actually wanted to talk to you about was kind of skill acquisition over the years. I mean, at the time of the walk, it's going to be 12 months since you have made that walk for MMA.
Yeah.
Where
Mm-hmm.
have you improved specifically since your last fight back in June of last year?
Oh, I I mean, obviously we work a ton of jujitsu. So I feel like and jujitsu is like the funnest thing for me. Like it's also my hobby as well as my like I mean it's my hobby and I take it very, very seriously at the same time, but I just love it so much. So whenever I do it, I think of how I can make it better or more fun. So in that way, I think it's easier for me to progress with jujitsu because it's something that I enjoy so much. But recently, my coach has been very, very patient with me with my striking and like my takedowns and whatnot. So I've actually been able to enjoy the striking and the sparring so much more. And I think that is something that is so important for me because if I don't enjoy doing something or if I kind of dread it a little bit, then that is where problems come up for me. So for me, I've realized if I'm going to do something, I need to be excited about it. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So just right now, I'm having a lot of fun. That's basically all that's happening. Is I'm having a ton of fun.
What would you say is maybe the switch that happened to make you go from not necessarily dreading, but not as much enjoying the striking side of things versus, the jujitsu side of things? What has made you now
Yeah,
start to enjoy that?
yeah. So what my coach says is he's always like, okay, jujitsu is chess, striking is checkers. Whereas with jujitsu, you're always thinking of like one move ahead of the other person. So it's like, I mean, you're not actively thinking about it in the moment, but I mean, you kind of are, but you're always thinking of like, what could this person do? And I feel like with striking, I've always been extremely black and white. I'm always like, okay, so I'm going to hit this person now. Whereas he's been working very heavily with me, like on the mental side of it, of thinking, okay, don't think of you're just going to hit them right now. You're thinking of a step ahead of them. You're thinking of looking for an opening, but then the opening after that. So, kind of for me, I'm thinking of striking as more of a game now to make it a little bit more fun for me. And if I get things where I'm like, okay, I got this, but I was thinking a step ahead, then that's where I get so excited. So it's been really fun. So
So I actually just thought about this while you were answering that question. Does now you improving your striking and there's a little bit of a learning curve, I would say. Jiu-jitsu is widely known to the masses as one of the largest learning curves from being a novice to actually becoming somewhat good at that martial art. Have you kind of had to like fall in love with that side of it again in the striking category where you're like, okay, I am more of a beginner in this category and I have to get through that difficult period just like you did in jiu-jitsu years ago?
yes, absolutely. So I mean, I've been striking way longer than I've been doing jujitsu, but the type of striking that I did was it wasn't technical really at all, and it wasn't something you would ever see in a cage or an MMA fight. So I had to really transition my brain into another way of striking, which I think is why it's kind of something difficult for me because I had to like think I was always brought up to think one way of striking and then I had to kind of change my thinking over. So I think with striking, what was your question again? Sorry, I kind of got off track.
Kind of the learning curve, right? Like the learning curve from
The learning curve,
jiu-jitsu is a
yes.
difficult one. Are you kind of back in that space again, learning how to strike as effectively as you can in MMA?
Yes, definitely. So, I mean, I feel with striking, I'm trying, I find the more that I look at it in a new perspective, that is where I kind of improve on it. So, I mean, obviously, I've accepted the fact that my striking is going to take more time to improve. Like, I can't immediately just be good at it. It's something that I really have to work at. It's something that I have to learn to really start enjoying more. So, it's definitely a learning curve because my mentality is I'm trying to wipe out all the bad habits that I had, and I'm trying to incorporate new ways of looking at it. So it's kind of exciting.
Yeah. What does a week of training look like for you in terms of jujitsu, weight training, striking, all of the things that encompass MMA?
So basically, every day we have jujitsu and then striking. So, like I said before, we kind of incorporate the jujitsu and striking into one. But then we have, um, I have certain days that I work heavily on just stand up technique. So I would say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I have judo classes, and then Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday. So every day except for Wednesday, I'm doing some sort of jujitsu, some sort of striking. So pretty much it's an everyday type of thing. The only day that I really have off is Sundays. It's kind of a rest day. But and then as far as my weight training and lifting, I've actually been working with Paul Longworth recently on kind of getting my conditioning up to par for my fights. And it's been really interesting and it's been really, really good working with him because I've always gone into fight camps with working out and stuff as kind of just doing what I've always known, which is kind of overworking myself. I have the bad habit of overworking myself very much so. So when I started working with Paul, he's like, no, you're overworking yourself. And so I think that's one big reason why I've been feeling a lot better this fight camp because I actually feel like I have a little bit more energy, which is really, really nice. So yeah.
When you first had this, meeting and kind of started practicing what Paul was preaching, what were, oh, by the way, Paul's a great guy. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions about Paul as well. But what were kind of the big things where you were like, oh shoot, why was I doing this? Or that you were like, I didn't even realize that I was doing this wrong.
Yeah. In what concept? In martial arts or the working out portion?
The working out portion, the having more energy and things like that in your camps.
Yeah, exactly. I think I mean one thing that Paul stresses a lot is you should have good technique. Like if you start faltering in your technique of like let's say we're doing something with power, if you start lagging with the power aspect, then that's when you know that you should slow it down because you get to a certain point where you just are burning your body out for no reason. And like looking back on how I used to train, I definitely have realized that I burn my body out for really no reason, whether that's trying to improve my cardio or trying to get stronger. But he stresses a lot on keeping the proper technique and then doing those things of where you get like super, super tired, but doing them at the right times. So
You are up in Idaho. How did you get in contact with Paul?
So we follow each other on Instagram, and so we kind of talk back and forth sometimes. And then one day he was like, "So what do you do for your strength and conditioning?" And I was like, I told him kind of what I did, and he was like, "How would you feel about me helping you out?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that sounds so good." So we've been working together remotely, and it's been really, really good.
So how does that work remotely? Because I see all the videos, they go into his gym and things like that. But for you personally, obviously you're far away. How does that work from a distance?
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, I'm sure it's a bit more complicated. I mean, it would be so much easier if we were in person. But basically, he made like it's a really nice program. Also, he made like a whole program. It's like week one, day two, day three, day four, and it looks really cool. But basically, he has like the warm up portion, the activation portion, the main work, and then the accessories. So he has like a format, and then I can see he has like you can click on the things and see what to do if I don't know that certain move. And then, like, if I'm confused about something, then we FaceTime sometime and he kind of shows me what to do or he sends me videos. So basically, just I watch a lot of videos, we call and we FaceTime sometimes, and then we see kind of how to work through things like that.
When did this all start?
This was, oh God, it was a little bit after my fight camp started. Um, so I would say, I don't know. It's because right now I'm on week 3 of workouts. So technically, this is our third week of working together.
Is he going to be in your corner? on June 15th?
Possibly,
Okay.
possibly. We'll see.
Okay, sounds good. One of the big things I wanted to ask you about was kind of the growth of your team. I mean, obviously, we saw Jonathan Riley in January. I knew that there were rumblings of his younger brother possibly fighting as well for Fierce. I don't know anything about the matchmaking side of things, but how is the team growing? And are there more people interested in MMA considering what you've been able to do over the last couple of years?
I would say yes, considering more than previously, so especially since Trevor and Jonathan came into our school, they're really into the MMA aspect as well, which is really really helpful for me because I not only have training partners, but I have people that are really really excited about it as well. And basically, I mean, yeah, our MMA team is growing a little bit more. Whether I mean, not a lot of people are like, I want to be a fighter. They're just like, okay, I want to spar with you guys, and it'll be fun. So, I mean, we have our MMA class like when we have sparring days. It's a pretty good sparring team right now. And since there's not like a lot of people or whatever, we like to do Shark Tanks more or less. So if someone's in fight camp, then we're like, okay, you're gonna stay in the whole time. Everyone else gets a break, but you're going to get the brakes beat off of you by everyone. So that's kind of how we do it.
It seems like you guys have a lot of fun at that gym. Is that fair to say?
Yes, we do. And everyone's really, really close there. Since it's so small, everyone's like super, super close.
So you got your purple belt just a couple of months ago. How was that experience and just kind of like your growth in terms of getting to that point? I mean, that's a pretty high achievement.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it felt very surreal when I got my purple belt. I mean, I think because I haven't been training like super, super long in jujitsu, it'll be, God, how long will it be? Will be a little over 3 years. I forget exactly, but it just felt kind of surreal to me because I haven't been training that long, but it's something that I was like super obsessive about and I did every single day. And if I missed a day, then I was like down in the dumps about it. So it was pretty crazy to get my purple belt, but it was really cool also.
Did you know you were going to get it, or was it kind of like a surprise thing? I know some gyms are different.
Yeah, I kind of knew. No one ever says like straight up, you're getting your purple belt, but you kind of know.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things.
On top of that, you met Hoist Gracie. Was that a
Yes.
seminar? Did he come and visit? How did that all come to be?
So me and my friends Trevor and Jonathan, we went to Tacoma, Washington. I think this was last fall that we went. So we were like, oh my goodness, there's a Hoist Gracie seminar. So it was like probably a 3 day notice. So we were like, it was like probably a 7 hour trip too. So we were like, okay, we're gonna go. So we just packed our bags and went for like 2 days, and then it was great. It was really really insightful. The things that he taught, it's the little details that he put in. It was mind blowing.
Yeah. Might be a silly question, but did you get the chance to roll with him at all or do anything like that? I'd assume not, but
I didn't roll with him. I mean, he showed some techniques, so like he did techniques with us and everything, but didn't get to roll with him. But that would have been really cool.
how many people were at that seminar?
So many people. Like this, I think the school that was hosting it, it was like a smaller school, but there were so many people coming from like all over Washington and everything. So there was a bunch of people. Like the mat was full.
How much are you looking forward to this matchup with her and what are some of the things that specifically you're looking forward to kind of putting on display since we haven't seen you in so long?
Yeah, well, I'm very excited to fight Asia. I think she's had a lot of girls pull out as well, so we're kind of on the same page. So I'm really glad that we're able to fight each other. But um, I don't know. I'm just gonna go in there, do what I do, and I'm going to have fun with it and try to display my skills to the best of my abilities.
Where do you feel like you have changed? We talked about where you've improved, right? But like, has your mentality changed at all over the last couple of years since you began fighting? Like from day one against Nicole Funga to now, where have you changed in terms of your mindset?
I definitely when I started MMA fighting, especially my first fight, I went into it like not knowing like anything about MMA. I was like, whoa, this is like a whole new world to me. So it was very like, yeah, what I do, I don't belong here. to where now, I mean, obviously I still feel like that sometimes. I'm like, oh, what am I doing here? But it throughout the years, it's gotten to the point of like, I feel more at home doing this kind of stuff, like just being with promotions and being in the cage and training for fights. It's very much more familiar to me and it feels just like my life now. So that's kind of how it's progressed over the years.
Well, June 15th, she is back. Warehouse 22 at Syracuse, Utah. None other than Melody Shrock, the Fierce FC amateur featherweight champion. Melody, good luck to you. Thank you so much for talking, and we can't wait for it.